Alright, here's my sample image that I'm going to use to create the paint splatter portrait. And the first thing I'm going to do is hit Command J and turn off that background layer. Now what I want to do is I want to make a selection. So I'm going to go up to the selection button here, make sure that it's on plus, and I'm going to hold down the mouse button and click over my subject. And I can go back and fix it in a little bit. Alright, that's pretty good. Now for the selections over here, I'll click the minus button and bring that in. Bring this one in. There we go. Add a little bit more. I can hit the Q button. That'll do a quick mask and it'll give me a good representation of what's been selected. I hit Q again and it'll go away. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the add button and try it one more time. Boy, that's really being pesky. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to hit select and mask, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to go new layer with layer mask. And you can see here's the layer mask right here. I'm now going to delete this layer here and create a new layer underneath the new layer. There we go. Okay, so I have the new layer. I'm going to make sure I'm going to fill it with white. So over here you can see I'm set to white and like a pink color. I'm going to hit D for default. My background color is now white. Make sure I'm selected on that layer. I'm going to hit Command Delete and it should fill it with white. You can see right there there's still a little bit of that background. I'm going to go to my layer mask, hit my brush tool. Whoop, I'm sorry. If I paint black on it, it should go away. There we go. Alright, so now I have that gone. My layer background is white. I'm going to hit Shift and click both of those layers and go up to these 3 bars. And I want to convert this to a smart object. What that does is you can go back and edit things later on. It's a non-destructive layer, so it's kind of nice to set it up as a smart object. Okay, so now that I have it a smart object, I'm going to make 2 new layers. I have to move those in order. And this first layer here, I'm going to fill with white again. And then this layer here is where I'm going to add my brush stroke. But first I'm going to turn off the image layer. The reason I made this layer white is so I could see what I was painting. I'm going to go over to my brush tool, and if you need to load the brush, you can click the drop down menu and click load brushes. In this case I think they're already loaded and they should be, oh no, those are lightning brushes. They're the paintbrush. Okay, so I'm going to click on the brush and I'm going to double click here and I'm going to choose my color, and I'm going to stick with some pretty bright colors. All right, just left click, and I don't want to do too much. Now I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to double click the brush icon again, change my brush and my color, and I'm just going to go up the scale. I'm going to leave my picker in the same location, and you can change this brush around. I'm going to make it bigger by hitting the bracket button. If I go back to the brush, and you can see I can change the angle of the brush by turning it this way. See, it turns there. I can also make the brush smaller by grabbing those one of those pickers right there. There we go. I'm going to click a new layer. And I'm going to do this a couple of times until I get what I want. So I'm going to pause it and I'm going to add a few more layers of paint. Okay, so I've added about 6 new layers of paint. You can see it there. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go down to the bottom one and hold the shift button down so that all of those get selected, and then I'm going to click this little folder icon that just put them all into a group, and I'm just going to hit Command J and Command J again to copy all three of those. Okay, so now I'm going to go, I'm going to turn these off for a second, and I'm going to turn back on my image layer, and I'm going to go to image, edit, image. Oh, that's why I'm not on the right layer. There we go. I'm going to go to image, adjustments, thresholds, and what this is going to do is it's going to turn it into a very strong black and white. The default's 128. I want a lot more white in there. There we go. So I just moved it down a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command A to select all, Command C to copy, and then I'm going to click this group icon again. So I made a new group, and I'm going to make a layer mask on it. There we go. I'm going to click the layer mask, and I'm going to Alt click it, and then hit Command V, and then Command D to deselect. So what I just made is a layer mask that's the actual image. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to turn these back on, and I'm going to select them and move it into that top group. Let me turn that off. There we go. Shift, I don't know what I just clicked. There we go. And there we go. Move it up into the group. And you can see what happened is they are now in that group, and here is the paint splatter because I have that layer mask. Now if I go into one of those groups and hit open it up, and you can see all of the paint splatters are separate layers. So if I hit Command T, I can start to move around some of those paint layers. Hit enter to place it, go to the next layer, Command T, and you can see I can all of a sudden now I can start changing some of those paint layers. But I want it inside the person. Here's what I forgot to do. I need to click that. I'll hit enter, click the layer mask, and hit Command I. That's going to invert it. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. So now I can go into these layers and I can change by hitting Command T, and I can move them around. I can turn them around if I want to. I can lower the opacity on some of them if I want to. And I can even change some of the blend modes if I want, and that's going to change the colors throughout. And I can do that with any of the folders, but I'm going to start with the middle folder. So now let's say I want to add some paint splatter on the outside. I'm just going to go to my layer mask. It's going to default to black and white, and I'm going to choose one of the paint splashes. And if I hit X to make it white, there we go. Now I'm just clicking on the layer mask here, and it's adding the paint splatter on the layer mask right here, which is in turn showing everything that's underneath it. All right, there you go. Good luck.